Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are learning Mishna Nazir, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishnah Mishnah 1. Mi sha'ama hareini Nazir, a person who declares, I am a Nazir, I'm hereby a Nazir. V'shama chaveroi, and his friend heard him, v'amar, and said, va'ani, and I, me too. Meaning he's saying that he too is going to be a Nazir, just like this person makes himself a Nazir. He's making himself a Nazir. So we have Nazir 1 and Nazir 2. And then when after Nazir 2 said Va'ani, a third person said Va'ani to Nazir 2, Nazir number 2's declaration of Naziris. So we got three people becoming a Nazir, each one basically making themselves Naziris based on the Naziris that they heard. One person made himself a Nazir. Another person said, and I meaning I too am a Nazir, as he is. And then another person said, the third person said, I, meaning I am a Nazir, like number 2. Kulam Nazirim, they are all Nazirim. Now, in order for this to take place, the Bartanura says that the two statements have to be made within a period of time called Toich Kadei Dibur, within the amount of time to say. The amount of time to say 3 short words. Shalom Alecha Rebbe. If you do that, then we say the following. Two statements made within this amount of time of each other are considered to be connected in regard to many Torah laws. Therefore, when the first person says, I am hereby a Nazir, and the second person says, and I, within this brief amount of time, his declaration is clearly linked to the first person's declaration, and as if he has said, and I will be like you. Okay, that's what happens when you have it so close by. My understanding is that if, let's say, one person says Hareini Nazir, and then 30 seconds later, another person says, and I,
Too late.
it's too late. There's no linkage. There's no connection. And that other person wouldn't be a Nazir because we really don't see from his words that he's making a declaration of Naziris. But when he goes ahead and he does a Teichadei Dibur, then already what you're doing is you're attaching yourself. You're attaching yourself to that person's declaration, more than that person's declaration, to that person's making himself a Nazir, and therefore you're declaring also that you should be a Nazir, and that's what the third person did regarding the second person. So the Mishnah says, Kulam Nazirim, they are all Nazirim. Now, Hutar Harishain Hutru Kulan. Now let's say, just like by a neder, there's such a thing called a heter nedarim. You can go to a beis din or to a chacham and get your vow annulled. You can have your naziris annulled. Naziris is a form of a neder. You can get it annulled. So now, Nazir number 1 went and he got his naziris annulled. So, okay, his naziris is gone. What about everybody else? So the Mishnah tells us you have a domino effect here. Hutru kulan. Once one of them becomes annulled, they're all annulled, meaning one of them, literally translated, one of them becomes permitted, all of them become permitted. Hutar ha'achrain, if the last one got himself a heter, the last one got his naziris annulled, ha'achrain mutter, the last one is going to be permitted, his is gone, v'kulam asurim, but the other two remain forbidden. So what's happening here? What's happening here is as we said, each person, meaning the second person, attached himself to the declaration of the first person. And by doing so, he was really saying, I'm a Nazir just as he's a Nazir. Now, what if it came out that it comes out the first guy wasn't even really a Nazir? He wasn't really a Nazir. So then the second Naziris was nothing. Because when he declared his Naziris, he declared it basically, I'm going to be like you. Yeah. Well, if you're nothing, then I'm nothing. But here we know that the person made the Naziris. But the answer is that the rule is that when a chacham, when a beis din, a sage or a beis din annul a vow, it is annulled retroactively. It's as if it was never made to begin with. It's not mikanu lahaba. It's not from here on. It's retroactive. It's like it's considered. It never was. So if when the first person said Hareini Nazir, he really wasn't a Nazir because retroactively he said it wasn't a Naziris, then the second person is also not a Nazir because the second person only made himself a Nazir based on the first person being a Nazir. And if the second person isn't a Nazir, then the third person isn't a Nazir. because a third person accepted upon himself to be a Nazir based on the Nazirus, based on the second person being a Nazir. So therefore, the Mishnah says that if there is a heter, if there's an annulment of the first one, then they all fall off. Let's say the third person got a heter, the third person got an annulment. He has no effect on anybody else. No one attached their Nazirus to him. And so too, if let's say the case was not that the first person got an annulment, but the second person got an annulment. So the third person didn't do anything. So the second person's annulment will make it that the third person's Nazirus is nothing, but the first person's Nazirus still stays because he's not affected by it. Okay, that's the first part of the Mishnah. Omar Hareini Nazir. A person declared, I am hereby a Nazir. V'shama Chavera, and his friend heard him, V'amar, and said, Pi kepiv, u'sa'ari kesarai. My mouth like his mouth, and my hair like his hair. Says the Mishnah, raise a Nazir. He now becomes a Nazir, which Mishnah seems to be saying that this declaration is enough to say that you're trying to be a Nazir like him. Now, the truth is, you said my mouth like his mouth. What does that mean? What does it mean? We don't really know clearly what he means. My hair is like his hair, right? That we kind of lend a little bit more. But, it's still not really very clear what he means. And that's why the Baratanura says that really the Mishnah doesn't just mean that he said my mouth like his mouth. Rather, he said my mouth like his mouth from wine. Or my hair like his hair from getting a haircut. You're expressing an aspect of the Nazirus. So once you're expressing what you mean, right? You mean to say, my mouth is like his mouth, and just like his mouth can't drink wine, my mouth can't drink wine. That means you are now declaring to be just like him. It's interesting. If you just go in and you say, my mouth, I think so. I mean, if a person just says my mouth from wine, doesn't make him a Nazir. It's got to say Nazirus. So because you heard the other person who said I'm a Nazir, we're considering it that you're declaring Nazirus also. But you got to give us a little bit more information about what you mean. If you say my mouth like his mouth from drinking wine, and he's not drinking wine because he's a Nazir, that means I'm trying to say I'm a Nazir. And we learned previously that if you make yourself a Nazir and you say I'm a Nazir, that I won't drink wine. If you only make yourself a Nazirus from one part of Nazirus, what's the halacha? You're a Nazir for everything. So in this case, he may only be saying one aspect of the Nazirus, but that still makes him a full-fledged Nazir. But the point is that because he is again responding in a very short period of time to what the other person said, so he's attaching himself to that person's declaration of a Nazirus. And when he tells us clearly, my mouth, when he expresses himself in a more clear manner, he says, my mouth like his mouth from wine, my hair like his hair from cutting, we know now that he's trying to make himself a Nazir. Next case, Hareini Nazir. Person declares, I'm hereby a Nazir. V'shama Ishtai, and his wife heard. V'amra va'ani, and she said, and I. We're going to do this together. You're a Nazir, I'm a Nazir. So she goes ahead and she joins him. Okay, so we know that a husband has the ability to annul a vow of his wife. If it's something that is considered she's afflicting herself, something that can be get in the middle of the marriage, he has a right to annul it. All right. So here in this case, for Eshalah, he can annul her vow and say, no, you're not a Nazir. V'shaloi kayim, but his remains, right? He didn't connect his Nazirus to hers. Mm-hmm. She connected her, that she attached her Nazirus, she made herself a Nazir based on him. Okay, so he now annulled her neder, and it's gone. No effect on him. He remains a Nazir. Now, Hareini Nazira. She goes at him and she says, I am a Nazira. She's the one who initiated being a Nazir. V'shama ba'ila, and her husband heard, v'amar, and he said to her declaration, v'ani, and I. So he's saying, you're a Nazir, and I'm going to be a Nazir too. Eino yachal hafer. He has no more power now to annul her Nazirus. The rule is that a husband gets the day that he heard about the neder to annul the neder, and if he is makayim it, if he establishes it, if he says okay, it's good, then he can't change his mind, even if it's within that first day of hearing it. Now, in this case, he didn't say, your neder will remain, but he attached his Naziris to hers. That's a clear indication that he's okay with it. And therefore, it acts as a kiyum. It acts as an approval of her vow. And once he approves it, he can't annul it anymore. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. So here it is.